Hello, and thank you for taking a look at my video. My name is Maddie, and I'm so excited to see you here today because you found the very first video to be officially uploaded to my new YouTube channel, Maddie at Home, where I'm going to be aging in place. If you're retired or thinking about retirement, I would love to have your company as I experience the challenges and rewards of aging as time marches on. Equally, if you're a caregiver for an older person or family member, whatever your age, you're very welcome here. But if you're not quite ready to address aging or retirement issues, please take a moment to consider whether you have a relative or friend who might be interested in subscribing to my channel. If so, please share this video with them if you can. Thank you for coming by, and please don't forget to like my video. Now, I imagine that some of you might be thinking, what's an old girl like Maddie got to offer YouTube viewers? Isn't YouTube meant for dynamic, good-looking, and above all, young influencers? Well, it's true that we don't see a whole lot of individuals over 60 years of age putting themselves out there online, but there are a few, and I'll be inviting some of them to chat with me in the coming weeks. Maybe I should start by telling you a little bit about myself, as well as some of the topics that I might talk about on this channel. I was born in England, but I've spent most of my life and still live in Australia. I'm an Australian citizen. Some people assume that because I sound a little bit, well, posh, that I must be wealthy. I wish. For most of my life, I have been fortunate enough as a single parent to have a job. But over the years, I have been a serial renter, moving from house to house, or should I say more often flat to flat, or unit to unit, as they say in Australia, at least 15 times, probably more. Back then, I considered myself to be among the working poor. I didn't buy my own home until the ripe old age of 59, so I'm just an ordinary pensioner with no expectations of inheriting a stately home anytime soon. And that reminds me, one topic that I'll be talking about is how to save money. I've always been a keen thrift shopper looking for a bargain, but in recent years, I've graduated to being quite the unashamed scavenger of roadside throwouts, which are a weekly event in my neighbourhood. It always surprises me the things that people throw away that are perfectly good. But that's due to the high proportion of rental properties with ever-changing tenants, and they just, when they move to a new property, they just can't cope with all this stuff. I think that's the problem. If you're interested in my charity shop finds or the useful items that I've rescued from the front strip, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. As a result of my recycling activities, I've had to dispose of many items in order to ward off what could become a chronic hoarding habit. So I will be sharing some practical tips on how to get rid of everyday surplus items that you may have around the house, while avoiding the very last resort of putting them in the rubbish bin and ultimately into landfill. There's certainly no shortage of lovely young bin-happy neat freak declutterers on YouTube. They seem to have the perfect home, don't they? Lovely and clean with nothing much in it. Their mindset that discarded things can easily be replaced with a new one is borne out by their attempts to sell us yet more stuff. But for older people like myself who've spent a lifetime accumulating our valued possessions, decluttering is something many of us try to put off At least I know I do. I often wonder what it is exactly that stops me from making my life so much easier by getting rid of all that stuff. To help those of us who feel the need to beat this kind of possession paralysis, I will be showing you some of the things that I haven't been able to part with and thinking over why that is. I hope to motivate us all with some fun as we tackle these barriers to minimalism together. I'm already looking forward to how much easier it's going to be to find that item I've just misplaced. There is always at least one. My keys, my spectacles. It's going to be so much easier when I have fewer things. On this channel, we are going to get rid of some of our stuff, and that's a promise. Another topic I'll be covering is technology for seniors. I'll be sharing my screen to show basic information for complete beginners, and I'll try to answer those questions that some newcomers to smart devices or the internet are simply afraid to ask. And I think some of them, they really don't even know how to formulate the question. Many of my older friends and relatives are great with technology, especially on their mobile phones. But there are some who prefer to avoid technology altogether. That's easy to understand because as we age, technology actually becomes increasingly problematic. It's not necessarily the cure-all for the aging population that many young people suppose it to be. One obvious and very common example of this is arthritis. That's a condition that can make it very difficult or even impossible to actually type or text. So I'll be sharing how I work around that and some of the other issues with technology that we can expect to encounter in our golden years. Back in the 80s, way back in the 80s, I was one of the first people in my office to get a personal computer. How many of you remember the arrival of the first Apple Macs? From then on, I worked as an assistant of one kind or another, and my software was constantly being updated, usually with very little notice. It often felt like the IT department had conspired to hide all those symbols and buttons, bells and whistles with which I had previously become so familiar. So I'm fully aware of how frustrating it really can be frustrating, can't it? How frustrating technology can be. Looking back, it seems to me that my life's purpose has been to learn patience, and I will own up to being something of a slow learner in that department. Nevertheless, I persist in trying to keep up with it all. Anyway, following my many vexations with Infotech, my transition to retirement began unexpectedly with a redundancy. Not only did I lose my job, I lost my appetite for the corporate environment and for commuting. I decided to volunteer in my local community, and after completing some training, I was able to work part-time in aged care, which I enjoyed very much. That was where I heard about two online courses, Preventing Dementia and Understanding Dementia, which were offered free online by the University of Tasmania. And by the way, these courses are still available and they have no assignments, no exams, or anything like that. I'll leave a link in the description below for anyone who's interested in signing up for them. After I had completed the two courses, I had the opportunity to study online for a degree in dementia care, which was largely subsidised by the Australian government. I followed the recommendations of the experts in aging who maintain that continuing to learn something new every day is very good for your brain health and may even prevent or postpone dementia. I accepted the challenge of taking up study again and got down to work. Well, I've proved to myself that I could get a degree, and now I can do my very best to avoid dementia. But unfortunately, my original intention of continuing to work in aged care has changed because I recently found out that I've lost much of my hearing. I do have hearing aids. I don't know if you noticed them because they're pretty invisible. There you go. Especially if you have big ears and long hair like me. But they can be something of an annoyance, especially if you also need spectacles, which I do when I drive the car. And then, if you need to wear a mask at the same time, you can end up with quite the tangle. But I'm just grateful that hearing aids can help me to communicate in some situations and that they're not as cumbersome and obvious as they used to be. However, I don't do too well in noisy environments, and that doesn't make me the best support companion for an older person who may be a little bit themselves and need help with their shopping or medical appointments. I mean, they often have to go to quite noisy places. So I thought that I might be better employed staying at home and starting this channel. It's nice and quiet here during the day. I am at least qualified to bring you the latest news on aged care and dementia care, and to discuss any concerns you may have about these matters. My first few videos will be about myself and how I'm planning to maintain my independence while living in my own home. As I pick up more subscribers, I'm hoping that the channel will develop to become more about my viewers and subscribers, in other words, you, and especially those of you who are largely confined to the home due to changes in your health or being a family caregiver, which can be equally limiting in terms of your own health and quality of life. What other topics might I cover in upcoming videos? Well, I'm not a master chef by any means, but I do like my food. I'll be inviting you into my kitchen so that I can brag about how I've economized on good food. I'll focus on simple, nutritious meals that aren't over-processed, and I'll share some tips on how I serve up a good feed in very short order. Another interest I've had for some time is researching my family history. I did have some success with my father's side of the family when I was first made redundant years ago. But since then, many more records have been transcribed by volunteers and are now available online. So this time around, I plan to focus on my mother's side of the family, and I'll share my progress here. I strongly suspect my research is going to take me to Ireland. Now, you may have already noticed that I'm not a follower of fashion. I don't do hairstyle trends, makeup, jewelry, or anything like that. I haven't smarted myself up to appear before the camera today because I don't want to set an expectation that I might not be able to live up to. I could very easily be discouraged altogether from making videos if I had to dress myself up every time. So what you see is what you get. It's warts and all, or hopefully not warts, but certainly wrinkles and age spots. However, I do have some online friends who actually specialize in senior style. So if that's something that would appeal, I hope to be able to have a chat with some of them going forward. I'll also be trying to answer some of those tricky questions that we should all ask ourselves as we transition from the end of work, yay, no work, through retirement, inexorably towards the end of our lives. I hope this channel will help to make me accountable for following through with all those things that I've been putting off because they've yet to become urgent. And these are things that I should prioritize. For example, am I in the right place to be aging in place? Do I have a will? Should I make a bucket list because I haven't got one? And what am I going to do with all that time on my hands now that I'm not working? To sum up, my focus will be on anything that makes life easier for those of us who are aging in place, supporting someone else to do so, or receiving support at home ourselves. That might include home care, comfort and convenience, safety, good value, good health, and oh yeah, good fun. I don't think we want to take all this aging business too seriously because, let's face it, most of us don't think of ourselves as being old, do we? And some of us we don't want anything to do with all those old people. Until that is, we happen to sustain an unexpected fall, a lapse of memory, or a downturn in our health. When that happens, old age can become a lonely place. And that's where technology can help us to keep in touch with others and maintain a good quality of life. Finally, I'd like to thank the many YouTube creators that I watch myself. Many of them feel like friends to me now, and I miss them if they don't show up when expected. Not only that, they're a great help to me as they share their knowledge and skills or their own life experiences. Here are some older YouTube creators that I follow. They have inspired me to create my own Maddie at Home YouTube channel. You'll find a link to their channels in the description below. Please click the thumbs up icon to like my video. That will help it become more widely available to older people. And it would really make my day if you could leave a comment below. If you don't know how to like, subscribe or comment, or indeed what would happen if you did it, just click the thumbnail at the end of this video to watch my very first IT video for beginners, showing how I sign into YouTube with my email address, which enables me to do all those things. In my next video, I'll take a look at the first small unit that I bought back in 2012. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.